Yeah, this is Larry. It's Thursday, December 18th in the afternoon. I'm just making a quick run to get a little sample here from Turtle Rock Creek. Beautiful day down here, a little bit on the cool side, but everything's washed clean after all the rains. And that last rain would have put quite a bit of new material on top of this bedrock here. There is some, a little bit, so I'm going to try to scrape that out of there. Just get a little bit of that to take home to see if anything's getting trapped in this bedrock area here, right in the creek. So I'm going to start, get my screwdriver out and start scraping some out. You can see I'm getting down to this crevice right here. I actually have crevice tools made for that at home, but I always forget them. The other thing I keep forgetting, I need to stop at the 99-cent store and get a little cheapo whisk broom, plastic one. Be a lot easier to get all this stuff up instead of trying to scoop it up into my little, push into my little scoop. But anyway. I'm going to be here just a few minutes this time and see if we find anything at all. Alright, so maybe what I'll do, I'll just spend a few minutes talking to people, some of you that are newbies, just trying to learn about where to find gold in streams. So for you old timers, this will be boring. But there's 4 different types of placer gold. The first one, let's say we went up the hill here, and all of a sudden there was an outcropping of quartz, and it started to fall apart from the elements sooner, and then there's exposed vein of gold. So as the water pummels that, that's going to fall apart and expose that gold there. All right, so that's your first type of placer. Now the next would be alluvial. Once that breaks apart and it decides to travel, it could be a few feet, could be 50 feet. It starts traveling, let's say down this hill, stops right there for a while. That's alluvial gold. The next will be when it continues traveling, comes down here, let's say there's a gully, little gully right here, and it comes down and it ends up right here. Well, it's going to stay there in this stream or creek until a flood comes or enough current to move it. Now, gold being heavy, it's lazy, okay? But what it's going to do is take the shortest straight line from point A to point B. So it landed here. What it wants to do next, it wants to travel and find the first inside curve. Not the outside curve, but the first inside curve. And it's going to accumulate there. So right here, this is just a small curve, but you can kind of see the inside and the outside curve. So it's going to end up in the inside curve, and it's going to sometimes make a gravel bar there a lot of times because other heavies will end up there. So you're going to find gold there. But normally this current's going to sometimes be heavier. It's going to keep moving, so it's going to want to move again. Well, where does it go next? It's going to want to go to the next inside curve. So here it was right here, came around this way, and now here's another inside curve. There's the outside, here's the inside curve. It's going to accumulate right there, and so forth and so on. Now the thing that could hinder it is you get a big boulder like that. What it does, let's say that boulder was sitting more, and even a smaller one, in the middle of the stream here. What's going to happen, the water is going to bang against that. It's going to go around one side, go around the other, and when it gets on the downside of it, each side that comes around is going to form a little eddy, like swirling motion, and slow way down. That's where the gold's going to drop, right on the other side of the boulder. Now occasionally you could get some in front of the boulder if there's a fracture somewhere for it to drop. But normally it's going to work its way around and end up on the other side of the boulder and drop down there. So that's another good place to look for gold. And it doesn't have to be that high. It could be a smaller boulder. The next type of gold would be bench plaza. Okay, the next type of gold, let me say that again, would be bench placer gold. And what that is because of the Earth's motion pushing up and pushing up, eventually what's down here a lot of times ends up, as it's pushing up, it's forcing the stream to go downwards. So it's pushing up the ground, and what used to be down there is now like right up here, let's say, right up on this bench here. So that's a bench placer. And, you know, if you can figure that out, because it could have happened hundreds of thousands of years ago, if you could figure out that happened, you could find good gold up there. And the stream, it keeps going downward, trying to get to sea level. So that's the different types. Now, the other place you're going to find gold, obviously, is you're going to want to get down to get through the overburden and get down to bedrock. Because the gold, being heavy, is always going to go to bedrock. It'll get down there, and there's different types of bedrock. If you had granite, sometimes it polishes itself from the motion of the sand and all that, and gets super slick. Well, it'll slide off of that. But let's say if it was quartz that's fracturing, it'll get caught in that. And say slate's another good one. If you have slate, it'll get caught in between the pieces of slate. But yeah, if any kind of bedrock, it'll either sit on it, or if there's cracks, it'll get trapped. And gold will always, if there is a crack, an opening, it'll always go down to the lowest level, as far down as it can get until it gets stuck. So, and then, you know, places like I'm at here where there's exposed bedrock, obviously, I'm hoping there's going to be some stuck in the cracks here. So hopefully that wasn't too boring. I'm going to get back to work here. A good thing to do. Let's say this had been running, it rained quite a bit. This really got a whole lot of dirt on top of it and into these cracks. And then you came back, you hadn't touched it, and you came back in spring or summer when it's finally dried out. You can get a little portable vacuum and just vacuum all this stuff up and go through it. That's, you know, first you might have to loosen it up a little, but then vacuum it up, and that's a good way to get everything, every little speck. There's one I really trapped here. I really wanted to dig. There's ants everywhere. I'll let them go. They're hard workers. Matter of fact, there's a scripture that says, "Go to the ant, you lazy one. See his ways and become wise." So they're hard workers. All right, I got a little right in front of this rock where it fell down to that hole there. And let me see, I might get a little right here in front of this one, this boulder here. So this Turtle Rock Creek, at this point, since we've just found a few little flakes here and there, it's just a place we kind of do in between our major places we go to where we know there's going to be gold. So since we normally spend a few minutes here, and just occasionally, it may be quite a while before we figure out where the source is. If it's better upstream, downstream, in between, is it coming off the hills, somewhere else? We don't know. So that's our main, so we're at the prospecting stage. So it may take months before just, coming here once in a while before we figure out what the source is. And then we may figure out the source is very minute. It's not worth the trouble. But we're hoping it will be. So that's the deal. So I'll take this pan home, see if I found anything crevicing at all. That'll give me a clue that it's just washed down from somewhere up above. Okay. So once I get home, if I have time, I'll go through this pan and see if there's anything. I'm not sure if I have time today because I have to get ready. We're going up to Randsburg tomorrow, so metal detecting and coin shooting and nugget shooting. So we're hoping our nugget trap will yield something from the last storms. So I got to get ready for that. So but anyway, as soon as I pan it out, if there's anything, I'll show you. If not, I guess I'll show you anyway. Well, in the first pan, I found a flake, so I didn't get skunked. So I'll keep panning. So in the second scoop, looks like I found 3 or 4 pieces. So that's pretty good. Okay, keep going. Altogether, again, all I have is just 1 pan full of dirt I'm going through. So I'm just doing a couple scoops at a time here, classifying it down with a quarter inch. Filled up again 1 pan with samples, and here's what I got. Actually, it's small, but this is the most I've gotten so far from just 1 pan up there. You can see it. Hopefully you can see it. So there's some of the flakes moved around already, but yeah, there's a few in there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably 7, 8, 9, 7 or 8, 9. Some are very small, but they're there. So that tells me one thing. So far, it looks like the gold is coming up from up above the creek where that bedrock is. It's ended up there, so up above may be the source, at least one of the sources. We'll find out in time. Okay, so all you newbies, I'll give you a little review question here at the end of this thing. Do you remember what the 4 types of placer gold are? Okay, hopefully you said residual, alluvial, stream, and then bench. And if you recall, the residual is that there on the surface of the ground where there's a vein, it crops out, starts deteriorating, erodes away, and so forth. The alluvial is formed after the gold has traveled, downward from the source. Stream is, it occurs, let's see, how should I put it? At or near or under the surface of, the stream or river. Let's see what else. That stream bench is stream placer that's been left high and dry, by the stream that originally created it. And then, of course, the river, the gold comes down. It usually will wash down from the residual. It'll get to the alluvial and move and travel and get down to the stream through a gully, and that's where it'll rest until there's enough current or flood to lift it to move to where there's an inside end area. And then, of course, any gold that gets into cracks is going to work as far down, its way down as possible. Then boulders, it's going to come around both sides and make an eddy and slow down and drop. So that's about it. Hopefully you got it. Hopefully you'll find some with that information. As you can see, I have the information. All I found was a few little tiny flakes today, but I'm in an area where there's not supposed to be any gold to begin with, so as far as history goes, so I'm doing pretty good actually.